Here's a look at the morning line odds, and it's been well documented that journalism will go favored by how much? What say you?
Yeah, I think he's going to be right around 3-1. I think that morning line is perfect for journalism. I expect him to be about 3-1. I don't think we're going to see too many 5-2 favorites in the Derby. I mean, he's been really good, but unless you have some freak show, which I don't think he's proven that yet, even though he's proven he deserves to be the favorite in this race. So I think he'll probably go off about where he is right now at 3-1. Hey, I was a little tough on him because, he got in trouble in a 5-horse field, but, he's gotten the rail in his last couple starts. He got the rail in his last start, the 2-hole 2 starts back. And you mentioned it yesterday. I mean, he overcame trouble in that race. He also, the comedy, shuffled 7/16, which is legitimate. He also steadied a little bit, I think, going into the first turn down the rail. I mean, he had multiple trouble in that race and still overcame it to score. My wife, who is a sovereignty supporter, along with Sandman, because she's good friends with DJ Stable, but she was telling me, and she knows a lot more about this than I do. She's more like, Nick can obviously look at horses and go, wow, that horse looks like a 4-year-old. But she was telling me this horse looks older. I'll take her word for it. She was telling me that journalism looks like an older horse. He doesn't look like a 3-year, like most of these horses do, because they are 3. And in many cases, they're not even 3, or they just turned 3, because we're not even in May yet. And this horse looks like he could be running, in the Whitney in a couple of weeks. So he's a big, giant, filled-out specimen. He has that running style that you do want, I think, in the Derby. I think ideally, if you could draw it up, you don't want a dead closer, you don't want a speedball, you want a horse that can sit 5th, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, somewhere in that vicinity, I think is ideal. There's exceptions to everything. So based on the 100-plus buyers, the San Felipe performance, the overcoming trouble, the pedigree, he cost $825, Curlin, Uncle Mo, the dam has been super, and Mopatism. He's the horse, he's the deserved favorite in this race, but I just can never bet the favorite. I don't like betting the favorites in 7-horse fields, so I can't do it in a field of 20.
All right, well, we're going to go to kind of a different spectrum here, to the outside looking in with Baeza. This is definitely a horse who's been talked about time and time again, and rightfully so, considering this horse akin to former Derby winner Mage, Belmont winner Dornoch, and they plunked down $1.2 million for this son of McKinsey, who, took a few races to kind of get his career going. But, wow, his effort in the Santa Anita Derby certainly was a coming out party, if you will. And, he's kind of knocking on the door, hoping there will be a defection. What do you do with a horse like this, Matt, if he were to get in the body of the race? Because, this is going to be a wise guy choice for many if he does get in, because people feel that he's trending upward and could maybe turn the tables on what looks to be your Kentucky Derby favorite.
I mean, that's the key. I mean, obviously he ran. I mean, hey, he's 3 parts of a length behind the horse that's going to be your Derby favorite. He's a million clear of the 3rd place finisher Westwood, who was about 1,000,000 to 1 himself in a 5-horse field. He was 48 to 1, something like that. So you look at the pedigree. Flavian Pratt on the outside looking in. And not to be a doomsdayer, but there's plenty of time for a late scratch. I mean, God, we have eons from the Derby right now. So we're only sitting on Tuesday, right now. So there's a decent chance, I think, that he probably gets in. Not wishing the defection of anybody else in this field, but yeah, I think that's the question. I think he might get overbet if he gets in. And every race is about value, but this race is the epitome of looking at value. I think Grande is a horse that, I thought I was hearing was a little bit of a wise guy horse. There are similarities between, Baeza and Grande in terms of, Grande didn't cost nearly as much. He cost $300,000, but, it's Rapoli and it's Pletcher, Johnny V, and lightly raced and stepping up in a stakes company and running second. And doing so behind a fairly big name horse in Rodriguez, who's 12 to 1 on the line. So, and the thing to look at also in the Wood Memorial, You know, Rodriguez was really, really good in that Grade 2 event. I thought it was a fair track in New York, and there's Grande, who he did have a really good trip in this race. Because if you watch this race, Nick, you have Rodriguez just putting away Captain Cook on the front. Captain Cook was your favorite in this race for Dutch Row. He puts him away. There's Captain Cook going backwards at this point right now, and Captain Cook can't even hold on for third. And here comes Grande. I mean, he's trying as hard as he can, but a faster racehorse in Rodriguez, a more seasoned racehorse in Rodriguez, able to get the better of him. So I'm kind of torn a little bit with him, Nick. It's, you know, he did lose to a horse who had a front-end victory, but I think you could argue with the trip that Rodriguez had a battle with the favorite and put him away in that race, whereas Grande did have kind of an ideal setup in that event. But it was only the third start of his career. It was a big step up in class off of that optional 75 win at Gulfstream. And obviously the distance from a pedigree standpoint shouldn't be a problem. And I love his running style. Also, I don't know if he's quite good enough at this stage. I will not be using Grande personally, although I do know some horse players I respect immensely that will be.
All right. Well, despite the fact that this particular horse is not on my top 5, Tiztastic, this 3-year-old son of Tiz the Law, former runner-up to Authentic in the Kentucky Derby in 2020 out of that Tappet mare Keisha. Tiztastic is a horse that virtually no one appears to be talking about, and he has come in essentially having done very little wrong. I don't know if his trip into Rebel is what this horse really wants. He's a big strapping son of Tiz the Law with an extended stride that I think once he gets in close quarters, it takes him a few strides to kind of find his better move. But this is looking back at the Keeneland September yearling sale. He's a $335,000 purchase for the Winchell Thoroughbreds in a partnership with Steve Asmussen. I love his effort here, and I think that people really aren't giving this horse the credit he deserves, but he may be actually peaking at the right time. And I think obviously when you're talking Kentucky Derby, you certainly want to be doing just that. He has an ascending speed pattern. We look at the Thurrows and the Ragozin, and this horse being involved with the Coolmore group, Magnier and Tabor and Derek Smith. They got to be pretty excited for a horse that's strictly on the improve. And as we had said, Tiz the Law has ascended as a stallion and putting out some top-end runners. So I think Tiztastic is definitely a horse that if he were to surprise and step up this Saturday, he would not be a surprise for me because of the fact that you get Joel Rosario on the re-ride. He has had a couple of tries there at Churchill. Some would argue that they weren't his best races, but do keep in mind that in the street sense, he finished behind a horse by the name of Sovereignty. When he came back in the Kentucky Jockey Club, you know, he finished behind, at the time, First Resort and Jonathan's Way. There's enough credential here. This horse could easily be 40 or 50 to 1 on the board, and he might be the perfect complement to your verticals.
Yeah, you know, I'm a little bit against the road to the Derby that led through Louisiana and Arkansas. So I think that's an important thing for horse players to do. Kind of decide which paths to the Derby you thought the races were stronger, which one's not quite as strong. So I'm a little bit against the Louisiana horses. A horse I'll just say it now. Final Gambit's a horse I like a little bit. He's not my Derby pick. He'll be everywhere for me. And I know he's a little bit of a buzz horse, which they always scare me a bit. And I understand that the Ruby is synthetic. This horse doesn't break very well. Watch the start for Final Gambit. That's pretty bad. That's a pretty bad start for him. He gets knocked around a little bit. He gets, knocked off his feet. He's flat-footed. And all of a sudden he finds himself far back. I will say this. I was at Turfway Park March 22nd. And you think of Turfway Park, and you think of big days in general at racetracks, you think speed first and foremost. It was a big closer day. It was a giant closer bias day. So that's one of the reasons why I still like this horse. Look at this move he makes. This is explosive. Oh, I don't know who he beat. This is explosive, folks. And this is a horse that I think will be able to handle the dirt. And apparently he's training. People that are a lot smarter than I am when it comes to workouts are telling me that he's doing great right now at Churchill Downs. On paper, it kind of speaks that. Look at this finish. I mean, this is pretty. I thought this was pretty spectacular watching it live. Going, wow. Look at this horse at 15 to 1. Look at that. And like a good thing, in a strung out field after that beginning to finish like that. So the positives for me are he's going the right direction. I don't think a mile and a quarter will be a problem for him. Will he handle dirt? He's training well over it. And he did take advantage of a closer bias at Turfway March 22nd, but I'll be using him. He's actually my second pick. The second horse I'd be betting right now for the Derby.
That's an interesting take. This is going to be a toss for me. That damn Pachinko was strictly grass, not this time. They tend to be a bit turf-centric, but gotta love Kentucky Derby Week. Join us for live coverage at Churchill Downs all week leading up to Kentucky Oaks, Kentucky Derby. Hopefully you've been taking advantage of breakfast at the Derby. Some great insight there. Mike Joyce, Joe Talamo, not to mention Simon Bray, of course, with his trainer experience. But the interviews have been number one. We've got a great crew out there in Louisville. And tune into FanDuel TV for reports and analyses. Not to mention, you can go over the YouTube channel, take a look at those interviews and workouts, what these horses are doing in the AM. There's